Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and thank you for joining me today as we dive deep into one of the most astonishing stories in the world of rare coins, a story that has shocked collectors, stunned experts, and ignited the imagination of anyone who has ever wondered whether an ordinary-looking penny in their pocket could actually be worth a life-changing fortune. And today we are talking about the legendary 1981 cent coin, a coin that seems so common, so ordinary, so familiar that millions of people handle it every day without a second thought, yet hidden among those countless coins is a tiny handful of rare, error-filled pieces that have transformed the 1980 penny into a multimillion-dollar treasure, and in this detailed deep dive we are going to explore exactly why the 1981 cent coin can sell for as much as $6 million. What kinds of minting errors and mechanical mistakes elevate it to such extraordinary value, what possibilities exist inside the US Mint production process that can unintentionally create these ultra-rare anomalies, and how collectors from all around the world hunt, study, and compete to obtain these legendary pieces, and we will do all of this in a smooth, immersive, single-paragraph journey that pulls you in from beginning to end as we explore the world of coin minting, the fascinating mechanics behind die creation, the pressure-driven striking process that shapes each copper-coated zinc blank, the subtle differences between normal strike and error strike coins, and the mysterious conditions in 1980 that allowed certain pennies to leave the mint with dramatic, eye-catching, and extremely valuable mistakes that today command multimillion-dollar prices at auctions and private sales alike, beginning with the fact that the 1980 penny belongs to a transitional era in coinage. Because even though the official switch from copper to zinc in the Lincoln cent did not occur until 1982, the mint was already experimenting with procedures, adjusting machinery, and updating die preparation techniques, and during these years the presses, dies, planchet preparation machines, and quality control systems often operated under heavy pressure, producing billions of coins annually, and whenever the production environment is pushed to its limits the chances of error increase dramatically, which is exactly what makes years like 1980 so significant for collectors, because when the mint is under intense strain subtle misalignments, die deterioration, planchet impurities, feeder malfunctions, double strikes, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, die caps, brockages, mule combinations, wrong planchet errors, and die clash marks can all occur far more easily than the public realizes, and in the case of the 1980 penny, multiple categories of valuable errors have been discovered over the decades, with some of them so extreme that experts believe they may have resulted from rare momentary mechanical breakdowns, miscommunications between minting departments, or even unusual stress on die hubs and striking chambers that caused unexpected distortions on the final coin, and what makes these rare 1980 pennies worth as much as $6 million is not just the presence of errors but the dramatic nature of those errors combined with the incredible scarcity of well-preserved specimens that survived circulation. Because most error coins, especially dramatic ones, enter circulation unnoticed and quickly get damaged, scratched, corroded, or worn down, making the surviving mint state examples unbelievably rare and monstrously valuable, and to understand the full potential of a 1980 penny you must first understand the types of errors that have been documented, starting with the double die obverse and double die reverse categories, where the design elements such as Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, the date 1980, and Abraham Lincoln's profile can appear doubled, tripled, or even spread apart due to imperfections during die creation. And while mild doubling is somewhat common in certain years, the extreme and dramatic doubling seen on some 1980 specimens is so bold that even amateur collectors can spot it instantly with the naked eye, which is one reason these coins bring staggering prices. And then there are off-center strikes, where the planchet is not properly seated under the die, causing only part of the design to appear on the coin while the rest is blank or only partially struck. And while minor off-center errors of 5 or 10% are fairly common, the truly valuable examples are those that are 50 to 70% off-center yet still display a fully visible date, because without the date collectors cannot associate the error with the 1980 minting year, which dramatically reduces value. But when a massive off-center strike still preserves the date 1980 the value increases exponentially, and then we have broad strikes, which occur when the retaining collar that shapes the edge of the coin fails, causing the planchet to spread outward like a flat, oversized disc, and certain 1980 broad strike pennies display unusually crisp design features along with an expanded diameter, making them both visually striking and extremely collectible, but even rarer are the 1980 pennies struck on the wrong planchet, for example a 1980 penny accidentally struck on a dime planchet, which would produce a lighter weight coin made of a different metal composition with incomplete design details because the smaller planchet cannot capture the full penny design, and errors like these are so scarce that only a handful may exist, and when such a coin appears at a major auction collectors fight fiercely for it, often pushing prices into the millions, especially if the coin is certified as mint state with sharp details, minimal marks, and strong luster. But the story does not end there because one of the most valuable types of errors associated with the 1980 penny involves the die cap error, where a struck coin adheres to the die face and repeatedly strikes subsequent planchets, creating deeply cupped, concave coins with distorted or ghost-like impressions, and these dramatic errors are mesmerizing to look at, with surfaces that resemble melted or stretched metal, and when such an error is paired with a clear 1980 date and exceptional preservation, it can command astronomical prices due to the combination of rarity, dramatic appearance, and unmistakable mint origin. But another extremely important contributor to value is the presence of die clash marks on some 1980 pennies, which occur when the hammer die and anvil die strike each other without a planchet between them, causing traces of reverse design elements to appear on the obverse die and vice versa. And when those clashed dies strike planchets, the resulting coins show faint but fascinating outlines of design elements where they do not belong, such as parts of the Lincoln Memorial appearing around Lincoln's portrait, creating a surreal, ghostly aesthetic that collectors absolutely love. And among the rarest discoveries are 1980 pennies that combine multiple errors at once, such as off-center double-die broad-strike coins or die-cap pieces that also display clash marks, and the more dramatic and unusual the combination, the more collectors are willing to pay, often driving prices into the multi-million-dollar range because such coins are essentially one-of-a-kind freak accidents of the minting process. And the true holy grail 1980 pennies that have achieved values approaching $6 million are those that combine rarity, condition, dramatic visual appeal, and undeniable authenticity, often certified by top grading companies like PCGS or NGC, which evaluate not only the severity of the error but also the coin's surface preservation, original mint luster, absence of corrosion, and sharpness of detail, and because the supply of these coins is so microscopic compared to the worldwide demand of collectors, investors, and museums, prices skyrocket whenever a specimen enters the market, especially because the story behind each coin is unique, tied to a fleeting mechanical malfunction or a split-second production anomaly that could never be intentionally replicated, and this sense of mystery, unpredictability, and historical significance is part of what makes the 1980 penny so legendary, because each rare error coin is like a snapshot of a single moment inside the mint, frozen in copper and preserved for decades until eventually discovered by someone sorting a jar of old change or examining a coin inherited from a grandparent's collection, and this possibility is what excites everyday people just as much as professional collectors, because the idea that a $6 million coin could be hiding anywhere, in a desk drawer, in a coin jar, in a forgotten piggy bank, or even in pocket change received from a small shop, creates an irresistible sense of adventure, where every old penny becomes a mystery waiting to be solved, and enthusiasts know that the only way to find these rare treasures is through consistent searching, careful examination, understanding the types of errors that increase value, and learning how to spot subtle signs like doubling around the numbers in the date, faint outlines of design elements where they should not be, slight distortions. Next 2014 1-cent coin, to the channel, and thank you for joining me today as we dive into another extraordinary and unbelievable discovery from the world of rare coins, a world where tiny details, microscopic imperfections, and fleeting mistakes inside the high-speed machinery of the United States Mint can transform an ordinary 1-cent coin into a mind-blowing treasure worth millions of dollars. And today we are exploring the astonishing story behind the 2014 1-cent coin, a coin that most people handle every single day without even looking at it, a coin that usually holds almost no purchasing power, yet because of a very small number of rare, dramatic, and extremely unusual minting errors, certain 2014 pennies have been valued as high as $5 million, sparking global attention, fierce competition among collectors, and endless fascination among numismatists. Because whenever an error coin from a modern year, especially a recent year like 2014, reaches multi-million-dollar status, it shakes the entire numismatic community and proves that you don't need a centuries-old coin to uncover a massive treasure, you just need the right combination of mechanical malfunction, rare conditions inside the mint, and exceptional preservation, all of which make the 2014 penny one of the most talked about modern errors in existence. And today we are going to journey through everything that makes this coin so incredibly valuable, starting from the minting process itself, the machines, the dies, the rapidly moving planchets, the pressure-driven strikes, and the delicate, complicated steps that must all align perfectly for a coin to come out flawless, because once you understand how precise the minting process must be for billions of coins to be produced consistently, you begin to understand how incredibly rare and truly spectacular it is when a major, dramatic mistake slips through the system, survives quality control, reaches circulation, and eventually ends up in the hands of someone who recognizes just how extraordinary the error is, and the 2014 penny is a perfect example of how rare combinations of errors, such as extreme double dies, dramatic off-center strikes, die caps, wrong planchet strikes, feeder finger damage strikes, multi-strike errors, and even rare transitional planchet experiments, can elevate an ordinary coin into a $5 million masterpiece, because 2014 was a year when the mint was operating massive production lines, producing over billions of pennies using high-speed presses, automated planchet feeders, and dies that were replaced only after significant wear, and any time the mint operates at such a large scale the potential for subtle mechanical inconsistencies increases dramatically, meaning a slight misalignment of a die, a weakened retaining collar, a malfunctioning feeder finger, or even a brief interruption in strike pressure can create errors that go unnoticed, and when these errors are dramatic enough to immediately catch an expert's eye, especially when the coin also remains in near-perfect mint state condition, they can become million-dollar treasures, because rarity alone isn't enough, it's the combination of rarity, dramatic appearance, uniqueness, and condition that pushes certain 2014 pennies into the multi-million-dollar tier. And among the most valuable errors associated with this year is the extreme double die obverse error, where the design elements like Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date 2014 appear doubled so boldly that the naked eye can easily spot the separation, something caused by imperfections during the die creation process, where the working die receives more than one misaligned impression from the hub, creating strong doubling that is then transferred to every coin struck by that die. And because modern quality control is extremely strict, dramatic double dies are incredibly rare, which is why any 2014 penny with bold doubling, especially if certified by grading companies like PCGS or NGC, instantly enters the realm of ultra-high-value collectibles, but doubling isn't the only type of error that makes the 2014 penny so valuable, because another major category consists of off-center strikes, where the planchet was not properly centered during the striking process, causing part of the design to appear shifted, stretched, or cut off. And while minor 5 to 10% off-center strikes are common, the truly rare and valuable ones are those that are 50, 60, or even 70% off-center while still preserving a fully visible date, because the date is critical for collectors, and if a large off-center strike still shows the date 2014 clearly, it becomes exponentially more desirable, especially in mint state condition, where even a slight scratch or surface mark could significantly reduce value, but the story doesn't end there. Because another category of hyper-valuable errors in 2014 pennies includes broad strikes, where the coin is struck without the retaining collar, allowing the metal to expand outwards like a flat, circular disc, and these errors can be visually stunning, with expanded edges and stretched rims, making them appealing to collectors who love dramatic, eye-catching mistakes. But even more valuable than broad strikes are 2014 pennies struck on the wrong planchet, such as those accidentally struck on a dime planchet, which results in a lighter, thinner coin with incomplete design details since the smaller diameter planchet cannot fully capture the entire penny design, and these wrong planchet errors are among the rarest minting mistakes because they require a planchet from one denomination to enter the striking chamber of another denomination, something that only happens when feeder bowls, conveyor tracks, or planchet storage bins experience rare cross-contamination events, and when such a coin also survives in mint state condition, collectors flock to it with enormous enthusiasm, sometimes bidding into the millions because the combination of rarity, striking error, metal composition mismatch, and clear diagnostics is irresistible to serious numismatists, and another category that has contributed to the $5 million valuation of certain 2014 pennies is the die cap error, where a struck coin sticks to either the hammer die or the anvil die and continues to strike subsequent planchets, creating deeply concave or cup-shaped coins with distorted or ghost-like designs, and these errors are extremely dramatic visually, creating coins that look warped or melted even though all distortions occurred naturally inside minting machinery, and when such a dramatic die cap error includes a clear 2014 date, sharp details, and minimal post-mint damage, it becomes a hyper-rare collectible capable of reaching extraordinary prices. But the list of possibilities continues because certain 2014 pennies exhibit die clash marks, which occur when the dies strike each other without a planchet between them, imprinting faint reverse design elements onto the obverse die and obverse elements onto the reverse die, creating ghostly, misplaced outlines that fascinate collectors. And while die clashes are not extremely rare, dramatic and perfectly preserved die clashes combined with other errors or exceptionally strong impressions can elevate their value. However, one of the most astonishing contributors to the $5 million valuation for some 2014 pennies is the multi-error combination coin. An ultra-rare phenomenon where 2, 3, or even 4 major errors occur simultaneously, such as an off-center double die broadstrike with die clash features or a wrong planchet error combined with feet or finger damage and partial collar strike, creating a coin so visually unique and mechanically improbable that it becomes a one-of-a-kind masterpiece, and coins like these are the true treasures of the error coin world, attracting the highest collectors, investors, and museum attention because such errors simply cannot be reproduced intentionally, making each example a frozen moment of chaos inside the minting process, a fragment of industrial accident preserved permanently in metal, and when such a coin appears with a clear 2014 date and mint state surfaces, its value enters the multi-million-dollar territory, especially because modern coins rarely show such dramatic mistakes due to the mint's advanced automation and strict inspection protocols, which means any extreme 2014 error that escape detection is automatically considered incredibly rare, and rarity always drives value when combined with dramatic visual appeal, certified authenticity, and collector demand. But what truly fascinates people about the 2014 penny is the possibility that such treasures can still be found in circulation, because unlike older, pre-1960 coins commonly stored in collections, modern pennies often remain in active circulation for years, meaning a rare 2014 error could be sitting unnoticed in a jar of coins, inside a cash register, inside an old wallet, or hidden in pocket change, and this sense of possibility fuels the excitement of collectors worldwide, motivating them to inspect every 2014 penny they come across, searching for signs like misaligned lettering, strange metal shapes, expanded rims, missing design elements, incorrect weights, doubled numbers. Next 1998 D1 cent coin, the channel, and thank you for joining me today as we dive deep into one of the most astonishing stories in modern numismatics, a world where tiny mechanical mistakes, unexpected minting anomalies, and extremely rare production accidents can transform an ordinary, everyday coin into a life-changing treasure worth millions of dollars. And today's feature example is the legendary 1998 D1 cent coin, a coin that most people would glance at for a fraction of a second before tossing it into their pocket, purse, or change jar, unaware that a microscopic fraction of these pennies carry rare, dramatic, and incredibly valuable mint errors that have shocked collectors worldwide, leading some 1998 D-error pennies to be valued as high as $4 million, and in this massive, detailed, immersive, single-paragraph exploration we will journey through every possible aspect of what makes these rare 1998 D pennies so valuable, discussing how mistakes inside the Denver Mint during that year created ultra-rare anomalies, explaining the types of errors discovered, analyzing the minting machinery and the mechanical breakdowns that caused these anomalies, diving into the die creation process, planchet creation, striking pressure, die deterioration, die polishing, feeder finger mechanics, collar failures, off-center alignment issues, and all the subtle and dramatic scenarios that can produce multi-million-dollar errors, and most importantly, we will explore how a coin as simple and common as a 1998 D penny can become one of the rarest and most sought-after modern coins ever minted, because while billions of these coins were produced, only a microscopic number contain the kinds of spectacular errors that elevate them from 1-cent pieces to multi-million-dollar treasures. And understanding why requires a deep dive into the minting environment of the late 1990s, a time when the U.S. Mint was handling massive production demands, operating high-speed presses, and using dies that often experienced extreme stress, meaning that even the smallest mechanical deviation could create a cascading chain of errors, and in 1998 specifically, the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of pennies, each requiring perfect alignment, perfect die pressure, perfect metal preparation, and perfect machinery timing. And any slight glitch in any one of these steps could produce spectacular, and extremely rare, errors, such as double die obverse errors, double die reverse errors, off-center strikes, broad strikes, die caps, wrong planchet errors, mule errors, die clash errors, feeder finger strike damage, multiple strike errors, and split planchet abnormalities, all of which have been documented for the 1998 D penny, with the rarest and most dramatic examples commanding astronomical prices, sometimes reaching or even surpassing $4 million when found in pristine mint state condition, certified by top grading companies, and sold at major auctions where collectors are willing to pay any amount to secure an unparalleled example of modern minting history. And one of the most valuable errors associated with this year is the double die obverse, where the hubbing process created a misalignment during die production, causing parts of the design, such as Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, the date 1998, and Lincoln's profile, to appear doubled or even tripled, and while minor doubling exists on many years, the bold, dramatic doubling discovered on a few 1998 D specimens is extremely rare, with strong separation visible to the naked eye, and any coin showing such extreme doubling combined with mint state preservation becomes a treasure of unmatched rarity, because dramatic double dies on modern coins are nearly impossible to recreate due to highly automated quality control, meaning that surviving specimens offer a combination of rarity, visual impact, and historical importance that collectors crave, but doubling is just one category among many, because another highly coveted error category consists of off-center strikes, where the planchet was not properly seated in the collar die when struck, causing the design to be shifted dramatically, sometimes showing only part of Lincoln's portrait and leaving a large blank crescent of unstamped metal, and while mild off-center strikes are somewhat common, the truly valuable ones are those that are 50 to 70% off-center, yet still display the date 1998 and the mintmark D. Because without the date, the error loses enormous value, but a massive off-center strike that preserves the full year becomes a showpiece worth hundreds of thousands, or even millions, especially in mint state red condition, where the coin retains its original shine. But even more spectacular than off-center strikes are wrong planchet errors, where a 1998 D penny was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a dime, a foreign coin, or an experimental planchet, and when the Denver Mint is operating at full speed, feeding thousands of planchets per minute into massive presses, there are rare occasions where planchets from other denominations slip into the wrong machinery, producing coins with mismatched metal compositions, incorrect weights, incomplete design elements, or smaller diameters, all of which create instantly recognizable and extremely valuable errors. And because these mistakes require multiple extremely unlikely conditions, such as misrouted blank planchets, feeder bowl overlap, or storage misclassifications, their rarity is unparalleled, and any such 1998 D wrong planchet strike can easily soar into multimillion-dollar territory, particularly if certified at high grades. But some of the most dramatic and visually stunning errors from this year come in the form of die caps, where a struck coin sticks to one of the striking dies and continues to stamp subsequent planchets, forming a deeply concave, cup-shaped coin with stretched, distorted features, often resembling a metal bottle cap. And when such a die cap error occurs on a 1998 D penny and remains in mint state condition, collectors go wild over its one-of-a-kind visual structure, and the rarity of such an error surviving without being damaged is incredibly slim, making surviving mint state die cap pennies among the most valuable modern coin errors ever seen. And then there are broad strikes, another dramatic category where the collar mechanism fails, allowing the metal to expand outward freely during the strike, producing a wider, flatter coin lacking the typical raised rim, a visually striking effect that collectors adore. But the most astonishing and valuable broad strikes are those combined with double strikes, where the coin is struck more than once either in or out of the collar, creating overlapping, layered images that look almost surreal. And coins with these combinations of errors are so rare that collectors describe them as once-in-a-lifetime anomalies, the sort of Pieces that museums and elite collectors fight over in high-stakes bidding wars, but even more mythical are the 1998 D-Mule errors, where a penny obverse is accidentally paired with a reverse die from another denomination, such as a dime or even a foreign coin, and while only a handful of such mule coins exist across all years, the discovery of even one authentic 1998 D-Mule penny would instantly send shockwaves across the collecting world, likely selling for millions because mule errors represent catastrophic die pairing failures, something that is almost impossible under modern minting procedures, which rely heavily on automated die matching systems, but despite automation, rare anomalies still escape into circulation, and 1998 D pennies are known for exhibiting die clash errors as well, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, imprinting faint outlines of Lincoln memorial pillars onto Lincoln's portrait, or impressions of Lincoln's bust into the reverse fields, creating ghost-like patterns that collectors find mesmerizing, and strong die clashes from this year paired with mint state preservation can command high prices, especially when combined with additional errors like off-center strikes or split dies. And speaking of split dies, another fascinating category involves die cracks and die breaks, where the repeated stress of striking hundreds of thousands of planchets causes the die to fracture, leaving raised lightning bolt-like lines across the surface of the coin, or in extreme cases causing a piece of the die to break off completely, creating massive, raised blobs of metal known as cuds, and 1998 D pennies with large, well-defined cuds, especially on the rim or major design elements, are highly desirable, with the most dramatic examples selling for significant amounts, but nowhere near the value of the ultra-rare multi-error combinations, where a single coin displays 2, 3, or even 4 major minting errors at the same time, such as an off-center double die broad strike with a huge cud, or a wrong planchet strike combined with a die cap formation and feeder finger damage, and these coins are so incredibly rare that many believe only one or two such specimens exist for certain years, and when such a multi-error coin appears from 1998 D, collectors view it as a historical artifact of minting chaos. Next 2018 1-cent coin, to the channel, and thank you for joining me today as we explore one of the most fascinating and surprising discoveries in the world of modern coin collecting, a world where even the most ordinary-looking penny can turn out to be a multi-million-dollar treasure, and today we are diving deep into the unbelievable story of the 2018 1-cent coin. A coin that most people handle every single day without a second thought, a coin that typically holds just 1 cent of purchasing power but in extremely rare circumstances has been valued as high as $3 million because of stunning minting errors, mechanical mistakes, and extraordinary production anomalies that occurred during its creation at the United States Mint, and in this incredibly detailed, massive, continuous single-paragraph script we are going to explore everything that makes certain 2018 pennies so incredibly valuable, explaining how minting errors happen, what types of mistakes occurred in 2018, why these errors are so rare in modern times, and how the combination of rarity, visual impact, condition, and certification has elevated some 2018 penny errors into the realm of multi-million-dollar collectibles, because 2018 was a year when the mint was operating under intense pressure, producing billions of pennies at high speeds using automated planchet feeders, high-tonnage presses, precision-aligned dies, and extremely strict quality control protocols, and despite all these layers of technology and inspection, rare and dramatic errors still slipped through, and coins with these mistakes have captured the attention of collectors around the world, igniting interest in modern mint errors like never before, and one reason the 2018 penny has become so iconic among collectors is that dramatic errors in such recent years are exceptionally rare, making any surviving high-grade specimen extraordinarily valuable, because the mint has invested heavily in preventing mistakes. Automating the production line, improving die hardening processes, calibrating strike pressure systems, and tightly controlling planchet preparation, but even with all of this advanced technology, the fast-moving environment of mass production sometimes introduces microseconds of mechanical failure, and those tiny lapses can create coins with extraordinary visual features that collectors consider priceless. And among the most coveted mint errors found on 2018 pennies are strong double die obverse errors, where the design elements such as Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date 2018 appear doubled because the working die received multiple slightly misaligned impressions during hubbing, and while minor doubling is common in many years, the bold, widely separated doubling seen on a few 2018 coins is extremely rare, making these coins instantly recognizable and incredibly valuable, especially when the doubling is strong enough to be visible without magnification, because dramatic. Doubling on modern coins is almost impossible due to updated quality control, so any example that escaped detection automatically becomes a numismatic superstar, but doubling is only one part of the story because 2018 pennies are also known to exhibit dramatic off-center strikes, where the planchet was not perfectly aligned within the retaining collar during the strike, causing the design to appear shifted, incomplete, or partially missing, and the most valuable examples are those that are 50 to 70% off-center but still show a fully readable 2018 date and the profile of Lincoln, because the presence of the date is crucial for collectors, and when a visually stunning off-center strike also retains the date and mint mark, it becomes a rarity worth huge amounts of money, and in near-perfect condition such coins can reach astonishing values, especially because modern off-center strikes of such dramatic proportions are exceptionally uncommon, and another highly valuable error associated with the 2018 penny is the broad strike, a type of error that occurs when the coin is struck outside the retaining collar, allowing the metal to spread outward freely during the strike and creating a coin with a noticeably wider and flatter appearance lacking the usual raised rim, and dramatic broad strikes are visually impressive, especially when paired with additional errors such as partial collar strikes or die rotation issues, and when a broad strike is preserved in mint state red condition with no signs of post-mint damage, it becomes a highly sought-after collectible, but perhaps even more extraordinary are the wrong planchet errors found among some 2018 pennies, where the coin was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for another denomination such as a dime or a foreign coin, resulting in a penny that is lighter, thinner, or differently colored than normal. And these errors occur when planchets from other production lines mix into the penny planchet feeding system. Something that is extremely rare in modern minting, and because 2018 was a period when the mint was working with different metal compositions for test strikes and international contract production, there were rare cases where planchets crossed into the wrong machinery, creating ultra-valuable coins that collectors consider once-in-a-generation finds. And these wrong planchet 2018 pennies often sell for astronomical amounts when authenticated and certified by major grading companies, because wrong planchet errors are some of the most visually striking mint anomalies, easily recognized by their incorrect weight, color, thickness, or diameter, and the rarity of such errors makes them irresistible to collectors seeking unique, high-value pieces, and if that wasn't enough, the 2018 penny is also famously associated with rare die cap errors, where a previously struck coin becomes stuck to one of the dies and continues to strike subsequent planchets, forming a dramatically concave or stretched coin that resembles a metal cap, and these errors are extremely rare because the mint's automated feeding and ejection systems are designed to prevent coins from becoming stuck, but in those rare moments when a die cap forms, the resulting coin is incredibly dramatic, displaying distorted and ghost-like impressions that collectors adore. And when such a die cap includes the year 2018 and survives in high grade, it becomes a highly valuable piece of minting history, often reaching 6 or 7-figure valuations. But even these astonishing errors pale in comparison to multi-error combinations, the holy grail of numismatics, where a single 2018 penny displays 2, 3, or even 4 major minting errors simultaneously, such as a double die obverse combined with a broad strike and a die clash, or an off-center strike combined with feeder finger damage and a partial collar strike. And these multi-layered errors are so rare that many collectors spend their entire lives searching for even one example, and when discovered these coins instantly attract multi-million-dollar attention because they represent sequences of failures that are nearly impossible to replicate, and the complexity of these errors offers collectors a unique glimpse into the chaotic moment inside the minting machinery when multiple systems failed at once, creating a coin that should not exist but does. And when such a coin is preserved in mint state condition, its value skyrockets, often entering the multi-million-dollar tier, which is exactly why certain 2018 penny errors have reached valuations of $3 million, but the story becomes even more exciting when we consider that many 2018 error pennies are still undiscovered, because unlike older coins that have often been removed from circulation, modern pennies like the 2018 issue remain widely circulated, meaning rare errors could still be hiding in pockets, cash drawers, piggy banks, old coin rolls, forgotten jars, and inherited Collections, waiting for someone with an observant eye to notice their unusual characteristics, and this possibility fuels treasure hunting excitement among collectors, encouraging people to closely inspect every 2018 penny they find, looking for clues like uneven edges, shifted lettering, unusual shine, ghost impressions from die clashes, double dates, missing design elements, strange weight, or incorrect metal tones, because any of these signs could indicate the presence of a rare and valuable minting error worth thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions, and collectors know that when they find something unusual they must avoid cleaning or polishing the coin because cleaning instantly destroys value, and instead they should store the coin safely, handle it only by the edges, protect it from humidity and abrasion, and consider sending it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, where trained experts can evaluate the error, assign a grade, and encapsulate the coin in a tamper-proof holder that authenticates its rarity, and once a rare 2018 penny is certified it enters the global collector market, where buyers from around the world compete for ownership, pushing prices higher and higher, especially because modern error coins are incredibly popular due to their unexpected nature, accessibility, and the possibility that life-changing treasures could still be found in ordinary circulation. Next, 1986 1-cent coin, to the channel, and thank you so much for joining us once again as we dive into another fascinating and unbelievable story from the world of rare coins, a world where even the smallest piece of metal can hold shocking secrets, unimaginable mysteries, and hidden value far beyond its face worth. And today we are exploring the incredible tale of the 1986 1-cent coin that has stunned collectors and experts alike by reaching a jaw-dropping value of up to $2 million in rare cases because of its bizarre errors, unusual striking anomalies, and the fascinating possibilities behind its creation. And as we begin this journey together, I want to welcome all returning viewers and new subscribers who love uncovering the hidden treasures sitting right inside their homes, pockets, drawers, and old jars of forgotten change. Because the story of the 1986 penny proves once again that you never know which ordinary coin might turn out to be a life-changing jackpot. And to understand why this specific year has become the focus of intense collector interest, we must go back to the unique minting environment of the mid-1980s when the United States Mint was transitioning between older machinery and newer technology, resulting in frequent alignment issues, pressure fluctuations, die fatigue, planchet inconsistencies, and quality control oversights that opened the door for extremely rare error varieties, some of which were produced in such tiny quantities that only a handful are believed to exist today, and among these, several extraordinary pieces have been confirmed or rumored to display dramatic double dies, off-center strikes, extreme broad strikes, incomplete planchet bonding, misaligned die strikes, obverse die cracks extending across Lincoln's portrait, rare transitional compositions, and even a few suspected experimental planchets that look like they were accidentally fed into the striking chamber, creating a coin unlike anything normally seen in the copper-coated zinc era, and collectors have speculated that some of these error coins may have been produced during night shifts or moments of machinery malfunction when dies were improperly seated or planchets jammed within the striking mechanism, causing distortions and abnormal pressure impacts that left behind bizarre impressions, ghost images, die clashes without planchets, doubled lettering that looks almost surreal, and rim distortions that appear melted or stretched, and among the most valuable examples are those showing extremely bold doubling on the date, the word liberty, and the phrase "In God We Trust," doubling so dramatic that it appears almost like a shadow or a second stamp created by the die bouncing or shifting in microseconds between strikes, and error specialists note that such doubling is not common in modern sense after 1982, making a strong, clean, and unmistakably doubled die from 1986 a rarity that can command astronomical prices at auctions. Especially if the coin has survived in high grade with minimal wear, bright luster, and sharp details preserved despite the error that occurred during minting. And then there are off-center strikes which vary from mild to severe, with the most sought after being those that are off by more than 50% but still show the complete date, because collectors always chase coins where the date remains readable despite the dramatic shift in strike alignment, and these can easily reach tens of thousands or more when combined with additional errors like clipped planchets or die cracks that snake across Lincoln's face or coat, creating a visually striking and highly desirable piece. And speaking of die cracks, 1986 pennies are known for developing unusual cracks, breaks, and raised metal lines caused by aging dies that were pushed beyond their ideal lifespan. And some of these cracks form spectacular patterns such as retained cut breaks where parts of the die chip away but are still held in place long enough to create a thick, raised blob of metal on the coin, a kind of dramatic deformity that collectors adore because it represents a moment of complete die failure captured in metal, and when this occurs near the rim, the lettering, or Lincoln's bust, the coin can become an extremely valuable example of late-stage die deterioration, especially if it occurs together with other errors like rotation misalignments or die polishing marks that create reflective streaks, and another category fueling the multimillion-dollar valuation is the possible existence of rare transitional or experimental planchets, because although the official composition for 1986 was zinc core with copper plating, every once in a while a blank from a previous or future testing batch may accidentally enter the production stream, creating a coin with abnormal weight, unusual coloration, or a metallic composition that does not match any expected standard, and collectors go wild for these anomalies because they suggest something accidental yet historically significant, and rumors persist of 1986 pennies weighing closer to the older solid copper cents of pre-1982 or made with slightly different alloy blends that reflect experimental testing. And a coin with wrong metal composition combined with a dramatic striking error instantly becomes an ultra-rarity that can fetch seven-figure sums, and that is why this year attracts careful examination from serious numismatists who use digital microscopes, precision scales, metal analyzers, and high-resolution imaging to detect even the faintest irregularity, and there are reports of 1986 cents showing intense die clashes where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet in between, causing ghostly outlines of the memorial building to appear behind Lincoln's portrait or traces of Lincoln's bust appearing behind the reverse design, and these dramatic die clash impressions are often combined with polishing attempts made by mint workers to clean the damaged dies, leaving behind strange lines, streaks, and scars across the coin's surface, and these make the piece even more bizarre and desirable, and then there are broad strikes where the collar that normally holds the planchet in place fails, causing the metal to spread outward, creating a wide, flat coin with stretched rims and unusually spacious fields, and the more dramatic the spread, the higher the value, especially if the date is intact, and collectors also pay huge premiums for double-struck coins where the penny was struck once, ejected improperly, and then struck again at a slightly different angle, leaving overlapping images of Lincoln's profile or doubled reverse designs that look almost surreal, and if the second strike occurred off-center or rotated, the result becomes a breathtaking combination of errors that could easily launch bidding wars among collectors. And when all these error possibilities combine with high mint state grades, untouched luster, and minimal handling wear, the value skyrockets, because collectors know that modern error cents rarely survive in pristine condition since most go straight into circulation where scratches, dents, and surface damage reduce their value dramatically, so a rare 1986 error preserved perfectly becomes not just unusual but almost miraculous. And this is where the multimillion-dollar valuations come into play, as some private sales and investor circles believe that certain unique specimens, especially those exhibiting multiple extreme errors together, such as double strike, off-center, die clash, wrong planchet, and retained cut all in one piece, are one-of-a-kind treasures worth paying millions for because they may never appear again, and this fuels speculation, excitement, and ongoing searches by collectors who examine every 1986 penny they find with intense curiosity, hoping to discover the next hidden masterpiece, and because error coins create emotional appeal, historical interest, and rarity combined, they often grow in value over time, making the 1986 penny a fascinating piece of modern numismatic mystery, and as we continue searching through old jars, forgotten piggy banks, inherited coin collections, and pocket change, we never know when someone might stumble upon a life-changing discovery. And that is what makes the world of rare coins so thrilling and unpredictable, because the next million-dollar coin could be sitting right beside you at this very moment waiting to be recognized, studied, and celebrated. Last 1991 cent coin, to the channel, and thank you so much for joining us once again as we dive deep into another unbelievable story from the world of rare coins where ordinary-looking pieces of pocket change transform into astonishing treasures worth life-changing amounts of money, and today we are exploring the fascinating world of the 1991 cent coin. A year that many collectors initially overlook because it seems so modern and common, yet hidden within this year lie some of the most surprising and valuable minting errors ever discovered, with certain extraordinary error specimens being valued as high as $1 million due to their extremely rare mistakes, striking anomalies, unusual die behavior, and unexpected variations that have made the 1990 penny a legend among numismatists. And before we dive into the incredible details of how such a small copper-plated zinc coin could possibly reach a seven-figure valuation, I want to welcome all of you who love searching your pocket change, coin jars, drawers, and old forgotten boxes for treasures that could be sitting right under your nose, because the story of the 1991 cent proves once again that you never know what incredible surprises might be hiding in a coin everyone assumes is worthless, yet it may contain subtle details, minting flaws, or dramatic errors that transform it into something truly extraordinary. And to understand why this year is so special, we must first consider the minting environment of the early 1990s, a period when the United States Mint was still transitioning fully into the era of copper-plated zinc planchets which had replaced solid copper in 1982, a change that introduced a wide variety of new potential errors due to the delicate nature of zinc cores, the thinness of the copper plating, and the challenges of bonding the two metals consistently under high-pressure striking. And this meant that any misalignment, pressure fluctuation, die wear, planchet contamination, or plating failure had the potential to create unusual and highly collectible mistakes, and one of the most famous and valuable errors of 1990 is the wrong planchet strike, where a cent design was accidentally struck onto a dime planchet, producing a smaller, thinner coin with missing outer design details and a silvery color due to the copper-nickel composition of the dime blank, and these pieces are breathtaking to see, with the full date visible yet the outer lettering cut off because the smaller planchet could not hold the entire cent design, and these wrong planchet errors are extremely rare, especially for modern years like 1990, and one certified example sold for tens of thousands, while some collectors speculate the most extreme specimens could reach 1 million if they combine additional dramatic errors such as double strikes or off-center strikes. And speaking of off-center strikes, 1990 pennies are known for producing some remarkable off-center errors ranging from slight shifts to dramatic 70% off-center results where only part of Lincoln's face appears while the rest of the coin is blank, and the most valuable off-center errors are those that retain the full date while showing a massive displacement, because the date is crucial for collector demand and missing dates reduce value unless other extreme errors make the piece exceptional. And in rare cases the 1990 penny has been found with dual errors such as off-center plus clipped planchet, off-center plus double struck, or off-center combined with major die cracks, and these combinations greatly increase value because multi-error coins are far rarer than single-error examples. And then we come to the holy grail category for some collectors, the 1990 no-S proof cent, a famous mint error in which the proof coin produced at the San Francisco Mint accidentally lacked the S mint mark, creating a piece so rare that only a handful exist, and although this specific error is not a circulation strike, it adds tremendous mystique to the year 1990 and fuels speculation that other rare mistakes may exist in circulation strikes as well, and this drives collectors to carefully inspect every 1990 penny they find for even the faintest irregularities, including doubled dies, misaligned dies, reverse design distortions, die polishing scars, and plating bubbles caused by improper bonding of copper to the zinc core. And plating issues alone can create some very dramatic errors because the copper layer is thin enough that any trapped gas, contamination, or improper heating during the minting process can cause bubbles, blisters, and peeling, producing strange raised areas on the coin surface that collectors call blistered plating or plating bubbles. And while most of these are minor, some extreme examples where entire sections of the copper layer lift off or balloon outward can command surprisingly high prices because they are visually dramatic and rare for the year, and in extremely unusual cases, partial plating errors have been reported where coins show exposed zinc cores or incomplete copper coverage, creating two-tone coins that look as if they were half-dipped in a different metal, and these are some of the most visually shocking 1990 errors and are highly sought after by specialists who study the metallurgical behavior of modern cents. And then there are dramatic die cracks and die breaks which occur when the dies used to strike the coins become worn, stressed, or fractured due to prolonged use, and 1990 pennies have been found with cracks running across Lincoln's face, through the date, around the rim, and across the reverse design, and some of these cracks develop into retained cuds or full cuds where a chunk of the die breaks off entirely, leaving a huge raised blob of metal on the coin, and these cut errors can be extremely valuable depending on size, position, and visibility of the date. And some 1990 cut errors stretch across the rim so dramatically that the coin appears misshapen or swollen, and collectors adore these major die breaks because they represent the collapse of a die during the minting process, captured forever in metal. And then we have perhaps the most mesmerizing error category of all, double-struck and triple-struck 1990 cents, where the coin is struck once, then fails to eject properly, and is struck again, sometimes aligned, sometimes rotated, sometimes off-center, and these coins can look like they contain overlapping images, doubled portraits, doubled memorial buildings, or even multiple dates, and the more dramatic the overlap, the higher the value, especially for rotated double strikes where the second strike is applied at a completely different angle, creating a surreal, almost artistic effect that collectors find irresistible. And some experts believe that if a 1990 cent were found that combined a wrong planchet strike with a dramatic double strike or off-center error, such a piece could easily fetch a seven-figure sum at a major auction because it would be a unique showcase of rare minting mistakes, and this possibility fuels ongoing speculation about whether such examples exist in private collections or remain undiscovered in jars of old change. And then we come to die clashes, another fascinating error where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, causing parts of the memorial building design to appear faintly behind Lincoln's head or traces of Lincoln's profile to appear behind the reverse details, and these ghost-like impressions are highly collectible when they are strong and clear, and 1990 cents with such dramatic die clashes are extremely prized, especially when also combined with die polishing marks where mint workers attempted to repair the damaged dies, creating streaks, lines, and unusual textures that add even more visual interest and complexity to the coin. And then there are broad strikes and multi-strikes caused by collar malfunctions where the coin expands outward, losing its normal rim structure and becoming wider and flatter than a typical penny, and the wider the spread and the more preserved the date, the higher the value, and collectors particularly chase broad-struck coins that remain perfectly round despite the collar failure, because they present a clean, dramatic look that showcases the minting malfunction clearly. And each of these errors contributes to the legend of the 1990 penny. But what drives the multi-million-dollar theories is the possibility of a unique, extreme, never-before-seen combination of errors, something like a wrong composition planchet combined with double striking, off-center misalignment, die clash, retained cut, and plating distortion all in one coin. And although no public sale of exactly such a piece has been recorded, the numismatic world knows that unique coins regularly achieve astonishing prices because rarity and visual shock factor are the two most powerful forces in coin collecting. And if a one-of-a-kind 1990 penny with spectacular combined errors were ever authenticated, investors, high-end collectors, and museums could easily bid it into the million-dollar range, just as they have done with other modern era coins that achieved fame due to their unexpected rarity. And this is why collectors examine every 1990 penny they find.